look, I'll admit it, I'm not a huge fan of ACC or Autodesk Construction Cloud, but let's face it, it's really the only way to collaborate with anybody out there. In the past, we've always struggled with having to upload and download from multiple hubs, but of course now we've got Autodesk Bridge, which, as the name would imply, will bridge one hub into the other hub, connect the two, and hopefully make things a little bit easier. There's some folder automation, things like that. Now, I've been kind of adamant on my projects against it. I've sort of almost banned it, if you're going to say that. Look, I'll be honest, the reason is that I don't fully understand it. I don't really know how to set it up well. I don't know how it works or what it's looking for those folder automations. So I've gone ahead and enlisted our very own SeaRUG Vice-President Lana Gochenauer of McDonnell Miller, and hopefully we can put our heads together and see if we can figure it out. I know they use it quite a bit. Let's get into it.
So I sat down with my team and we talked about it. And the one thing that we've noticed with this is that there's using this with just the publish feature, and then there's using it with design collaboration.
Yes, that I got that sense as well. And I think what I'm let's be kind of explicit about saying this is published with docs.
You're right.
Do that first. And I think design collaboration could be a topic of its own, and Bridge for design collaboration could be a part of that. And that's a little bit of a deeper dive that I think is worth doing.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to keep this one a little bit simpler, if that makes sense.
So we need to also talk about the fact that if you say pencils down or at a milestone and then somebody publishes, it can really throw the whole system into chaos.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We should bring that out. And I'll probably at that point kind of reiterate for my purpose, which is kind of, it's specific, right? It may not apply to everybody. Take it with a grain of salt. But what I'm trying to accomplish is more real-time collaboration for a specific portion of the construction or pre-construction environment. Yeah. So I'm not so worried about milestones. I'm trying to accomplish as much real time as possible. And that's okay to say that's the use case for this.
I created a special hub for this called SeaRUG Bridge. And then I made a special folder, O3 design, to match yours. Are you O3 design in your file?
O2 design, O3 construction. Although I think that the fact that we've got differing folder structures is not bad, because we can show how you can rename these things once you create the folder. So you can make it, because again, the idea is not to have me work to match your standards, but rather, I mean, if we're gonna match standards, let's get on the same hub. But the whole point of everybody being in their own hub is you get to segregate your files the way you segregate them, keep your stuff in your place the way that your teams already know how to do it. Don't have to relearn something, because we've gone through some effort to standardize our ACC template, as simple as it is. There's been a lot of thought put into it so that as project engineers and detailers go from project to project to project, they don't have to relearn, or they have this learning curve now. And where are things? This looks familiar. This looks just like my last project. I know what this folder has, that kind of a thing. But anyway, so understanding kind of how different companies do use ACC a little bit differently. Maybe one of the first things we could do is, why don't you give us a little bit of an understanding of how McDonnell Miller uses ACC in general for your projects, how you interact with general contractors and with design teams, if you are at that point.
So McDonnell Miller, ACC is our standard practice of care now, is all of our Revit models live in the cloud. That would be our large new construction projects and even our small project and tenant improvement jobs all live in the cloud. Thanks to COVID, we all went into lockdown. We found that it was a faster load time for us. So it became our repository for all Revit files.
So are all your Revit projects basically made out of cloud work shared, or just cloud, or so they're cloud central models?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So that was our impetus to get this going. And we've just kept it going with it. We have a template for ACC, be it a large project, be it a small project, or be it a project that is staying only in engineering, or a project that is going to be going over into detailing. because McDonald Miller is an engineering house and it is also a construction company too. So sometimes people don't understand that. So the model needs to live a complete life cycle. So we've got templates to do that. We've got templates where it just stays in design with that. Trying to use some of the other features inside of it as it comes through. So Bridge is one of those, issues is one of those. We're happy with Bridge because previously you had to pick a hub and then your model went into that hub. And there have been a couple companies that have add-ins that allow the publishing of a file every week or on a regular cadence, but it lives in that company's hub, where that's generally okay. But there are times where, someone on the project, the architect, gets fired. And now you have to scramble to go get your files off of them and bring them back into your world. So those are some of the things that we were seeing with it. And then with Hub, with the Bridge, we were able to keep our stuff into our own hub and just send it across the Bridge. And in the last, sounds like the last 30 days, it's actually become even more powerful than before when we were, just sending things back and forth across the Bridge. It now looks like we almost have a live link with it. We've never worked in a live model. We have done the publish and consume using design collaboration. So it's we could be immersed enough in the ACC environment to match an execution plan that's sent to us from a general contractor or from the architect. And we also at times request the architects to use the ACC. But again, not everybody's doing that. You use Procore, right? And we're moving towards Procore. So, we have to be, since we're kind of in the middle of the project, we have the architect and the general contractor, we're kind of squished in the center there. We have to know all realms of using this stuff. We are also...
I should mention, even being, so we use Procore as our project management solution, and we use Revisto as our model environment. That's our federating and our Clash and all that stuff. So none of those products are Autodesk products, and none of them are ACC, right? But we still find we need ACC no matter what, because we do the same thing. We have every model is a cloud work shared model. And by the way, I know we've kind of thrown out central model, cloud work shared model, cloud models. If I will create another quick video about kind of an overview of what all these things are, and a little bit of a higher level overview of ACC and some tricks of how to use each one of those things with desktop connector or directly through external resources. I'll link that video down below if anybody needs to see that, because I know that we're talking a little bit down the rabbit hole already with this topic of Bridge, but ACC is the place where we can have, it's, to my knowledge, the only place where we can have central models in the cloud that people collaborate on. And for that, you need design collaboration. But we're not using any of those other features, and we should probably make the distinction. So for Bridge, there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. One of them, which we'll talk about today and we'll set up, and the example here is purely through Autodesk Docs and publishing a model. But you can also use it very effectively with design collaboration, with the whole consume model method and all that stuff. But I think that will also be that will probably be a future video. So, like, subscribe, comment, get all the notifications for when we get new videos on, because that's how you're going to know when that video comes out. But anyway, so you already touched on this a little bit. The biggest challenge with working with ACC is this idea of hubs. And everybody has their hub, and there are good reasons for staying in your own hub. You mentioned some like cybersecurity. If you need to get somebody, somebody gets fired from their company, they still have access to your hub. Even if their email for their work has been shut off by their enterprise email, they can still get into your hub. So that's a really good impetus for everybody controlling their hub the way they need to. So Bridge would be the way to solve that, to connect those two worlds together, or maybe more than two in some cases. Go ahead and share your screen. And
all right, so here I have just the basic McDonald Miller hub, and we've just called it SeaRUG Bridge. I have the folders, and then I made a mechanical folder under here, and then here it's the Autodesk Snowden temple. and that was uploaded on the 11th. There's version 2 thing right here.
Well,
So-
the first thing, we needed to invite each other to
Right.
each other's hubs, right? So
as members, you're not here. So I'm simply going to go up and add a member. And D, there you are. And I'm going to add you to this. There's your construction company's name. And I have you as McDonald Miller Modeler. I do have the ability to put you in as guest engineer or guest general contractor. So I've got you in as both inside of it. This is permission levels. That's all that is. And then we have the 2 products listed and Insight, which you don't need, but both of those are in there. And your access level is project administrator. Yeah.
So I did the same. I've added you to my hub as a project administrator. And I'm also, I'd love it if anybody knows otherwise, if this is something that you don't need to be, if you can just be a project member to set this up, just leave it down in the comments. I only say it because I'm always a little bit leery of making other people project administrators. It seems like that's with a lot of products, be it Assemble or ACC, it seems like the solution always is like, oh, just make them an administrator.
The thing is from the Autodesk links that I've seen, is that just myself and you would need to be admins.
Okay.
Crossing over.
That makes
Everybody else is just, a user.
Why don't we bridge first to your hub to that mechanical file? So in this use case, I would be the general contractor, you're the subcontractor, you're the mechanical subcontractor, and I want to make sure that I get access to your model whenever you publish it. So, all right. If you go to Bridge Projects, you can create a new project, and that's where you go into the...
All right, so I'm not going to send you messages we're talking right now. So I'm going to send invitation to Bridge Project.
Okay.
Invitation has been sent to you and it's pending.
If you're not seeing that invite come through real fast, it's probably getting hung up someplace. So anyway, I received that email, and there is a link in that email, and I'll show this here. Basically, it's the invitation that you've sent me. It says who it's from, and I have an action button where I can choose the project that I want to bridge to, right? So when I follow that, it brings me into ACC, and it gives me an opportunity to choose what project within my hub I want to bridge, or I want to add this bridge to. So I go ahead and choose the project, and that should be that. So
there we go. We have the VDQ sandbox from you.
Yeah. So now we've got a bridge between our 2 projects. So now we can share, like we said, we can share files, but that's like a one-time thing, or we can set up folder automations for sharing everything within a folder, which is much more useful if you're using docs. Anything you put in that folder or anything you publish and update in that folder will get bridged between the 2. So let's see. So you're going into that mechanical folder and basically just right-clicking or going to the 3-dot menu and sharing, right? Using the share method.
Yep. So hit share here. We have that set up, and then here's this automated sync update. The only changes to the file in the selected target folders will be selected.
Right. That's the one that's grayed out if you're just sharing a file.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So enter the title. We're just gonna. I know you've got the sandbox, so we can combine the 2. And then I want to go to my bridged projects, and you see it's right here.
Yeah.
And click on this. There's a selected folders. Right up here, I can simply hit share.
Okay.
So Autodesk notifies us.
So here's the email that I just received from Autodesk. You have sent me files and folders through Bridge. So if I follow that link, it'll take me back into Bridge, and I can see the folder, and I can expand that, and I can see the file within. So I have an option to reject this, and I have an option to add the folder automation to the project. So I'll go ahead and choose that. And that gives me the ability to pick where I want this subfolder to go. So this is my mechanical contractor for the project. So I want this to live under my construction folder. So I select that and I'll add to project. In my docs now, under my construction folder, I can see a mechanical subfolder. And that RVT is now in here, and I can see it's processing. Now, interestingly, this is version 1. I think in your files, this for you is a further version because you've been working on this. But in my hub, to me, this is the version 1, so that can get a little bit confusing. It's probably worth kind of being aware of that, because if you're looking at your hub and saying, well, we're on V2 of our file, that's up to date, and I'm looking at my hub and it only looks like version 1, I think one must understand this is version 1 in my hub. It's the first one that you have shared with me. So that can be a little bit confusing, but if you're aware of it, it's probably not a problem. I mean, it does show last updated date that's also different than yours. And just basically, at this point, this RVT is a separate thing. It's made a copy, and ACC treats this copy of the RVT like it treats everything else. All right, so I've got that file in here. Now, obviously, that is not a cloud model. That's not a cloud work shared model. If I want to bring that into my RVT, into my model environment, I'm going to have to use Desktop Connector for basically for ingesting this file, for doing anything with it. If you have sleeves in there that I want in my concrete decks, etc. And that's fine. That's like everything else. So let's do something very similar here. I'll do the exact same thing. Going from my hub to your hub, I have a subfolder where I have the design models. So I can share the architect's design models, and I, as the GC, I'm responsible for keeping my subcontractors, informed of the latest and greatest design models. So I'm going to set up a bridge between our hubs with the design. In my world here, this lives under design, and I actually have a place where I create design links, these, again, Desktop Connector to get into our Revit environment. But what I would want to do here is go ahead and share this. And I'm going to go ahead and share this with another project. We'll set up automatic sync so that if I get a milestone, let's say that I get a CCD or an ASI that includes RVTs, I'll title this design latest, and I'm going to add it to SeaRUG Bridge.
And David, while you're doing that, I think we should note to people that the word sync, that when we use that, we sync our models is not the same thing as syncing with the ACC. That's a publish. I wouldn't see anything that you're doing until you actually publish it. So you can be syncing in your own world, in your own hub. And then when you go to publish it, so that versioning, you mentioned version 2 versus version 1, I could have version 58, and you might still only see version 4 because I'm syncing an awful lot versus publishing.
Yes, absolutely. So that is a very good point. And I think, again, I'll probably cover that as well. And I'll do a video with a little bit about Desktop Connector and what publish means, what syncs means, because yes, it's tough because when you get into the ACC world, it kind of works like, in the sense of Desktop Connector and anything that has to do with just docs, it's not Revit, it might as well be OneDrive, right?
Yeah.
And so you're syncing from this cloud environment into your local machine to get access to these files. So that is a sync traditionally, right? But sync means something very specific in Revit. So yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, so you should have received an email now with an invitation to accept this sync from the design folder.
Okay, so I have action is required. So I know I'm going to hit my view details on that one. I'm going to refresh and then go over to incoming. And you'll notice I have the red number 1 over here. I'm going to click on this. I have the option to review. Click on the review, and we can see I have the folder, and then I have the 2 files with their versions on them. And down the far right corner, I have Add File Automation to Project. If I can click on that. If I click on one of these, you can't. But then we go over here to accept these, or I don't want to reject them, I do want to add them. Because they're asking me where I want to put this. So I now have the ability to put them in design here, and then I can add it to a project, and I can have 2 folders in there. So I don't want to put David's emails into mine folder because we'll get a circular reference. So we'll go back up here. Open this up, and now I've got 2 folders in there. Now, I may not like how David has this named. I can come in here and rename this and not affect David. This could be a bridged file.
That's a really nice feature that you have control over the naming of this folder so that you can make this merge in with your project standards. If you have a particular place where you always keep the design RVTs, you can name that folder that, and our bridge link will know that it's putting things in that folder. So I can keep my office standards, you can keep your office standards. That's really, really great.
Yeah.
So I realize that this causes somewhat of a problem with the folders, because now here in my construction folder, I have my self-performed models. If I wanted to bridge to your hub for you to get access to these, and I share this folder, now your mechanical folder with your model is going to be a circular reference. So this prompts me actually to make a few changes to my template. I think that I need to have a subcontractor folder with everybody's information that I bridge from their hubs, and isolate my models in a folder that I can share that's not going to contain them. So I'll make some changes to the template. So just to kind of wrap this up then, as far as like the demo is concerned, so what would probably be interesting is to take a look at this versioning and the publish, and the idea that the sync and the publish. So maybe what I'll do here, why don't you go ahead and go into Revit and publish your model again?
So I like to show people this one, that there is a publish without links too. So
yeah, no, that's.
And publish here.
Yep. Go ahead and publish, and that'll take you to version 3 in your ACC. Like if you go now into your ACC and to your folder again where that file is and refresh. Well, I mean, it's going to take a minute. It's going to take
It's thinking, but it already says version.
So now you've got version 3 in your world, and when I come into mine, I'm showing version 2 already. It doesn't have to finish processing. This is done. So I actually, without having to do anything else, without having to go back into Bridge, creating a new bridge, sharing the folder, anything, I now have access to this latest one. There's no extra steps. Once you have set up that automation for that folder, anything that gets published, or if you uploaded some non-RVTs, if you had some Navisource files or some CAD files that you simply upload into that folder, they're going to show up in my hub as well, completely automatic. So that's pretty nice. Definitely let us know what you think about this. If we're doing this completely backwards and you have a really great workflow for this that you want to share, leave it in the comments, because I am told the YouTube algorithm really likes comments. So even if you don't have any great ideas, just leave a comment and tell us that we're nuts. And YouTube algorithm loves it. Share this video with all your colleagues that might find it interesting, and that'll help us grow the channel. So Lana, thank you for helping me kind of game this out and demonstrate it in real time. And yeah. Hey, thanks for checking out our SeaRUG video today. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you found this interesting. We've got more stuff coming out, and maybe it'll be of interest to you. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all the good things, and I'll see you in the next one.